On some of my older, more troll Nightreign videos that got traction after the game launched, I've seen a growing trend of people calling the game slop and a cash grab. So let's discuss that prevalent idea, because I do think they are not all the way wrong, but I would not say they are correct either. The first point that I've heard brought up in my previous troll videos, and one that I absolutely disagree with, is that Nightreign is slop because of the fact that it is an asset flip of Elden Ring, and FromSoft instead should have focused on making a brand new game. I firstly disagree that Nightreign is slop because the game is fun to play, especially the trio multiplayer, but I also disagree that it is slop just because it's an asset flip. Some of the most fun games that have ever been made were asset flips of their previous titles, like Fallout New Vegas, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Halo 3 ODST, and KOTOR 2, so I don't think Nightreign should be labeled as slop or artistically bankrupt just because it's reusing a bunch of assets from Elden Ring. I'd also like to point out to people that FromSoft has always been reusing assets from their previous games since the beginning of time. Third Tree Avatar is just a reskin of the Vanguard Demon from Demon Souls, or a reskin of the Asylum Demon from Dark Souls. The Basilisks and Slugs in Elden Ring originally came from Dark Souls. The original Elden Ring even reuses its own boss fights multiple times in the game, like Margit being fightable 3 times in one playthrough. So Nightreign reusing those assets even more does not really deter me from enjoying the game, because I enjoy the core gameplay loop, and I'm also a big fan of the procedural generation that we see in Nightreign. The last thing I'll say about this point is that even though Nightreign is an asset flip of Elden Ring, the core gameplay loop is experimental, and regardless of if you personally like it or not, you gotta admit, there is some artistic merit in FromSoft changing their core gameplay to something more fast-paced and frantic compared to the usual exploration-focused gameplay. And that is because FromSoft really ran the risk of everybody hating that new style of gameplay and wishing for the more traditional Souls-like experience that lets you explore the world without having a timer, but instead they changed the formula, making it more frantic and fast-paced. The second point that I agree with is that Nightreign is 100% unequivocally a cash grab, and pretending it is not would be kinda goofy. But honestly, if I was FromSoft, I would use the Elden Ring name for easy money too. Think about it. Elden Ring sold over 30 million copies, and its DLC sold 5 million copies. So why would they not use the money to make an experimental spin-off game that would cost them next to nothing to make? Sometimes people forget, but FromSoft is a business at the end of the day, so the whole point of their existence is to make money by selling products. And these little side games can help them fund the next big FromSoft titles that everybody's looking forward to. And these little side games also help FromSoft hone in some new ideas that they have, so when it's time to release the new Elden Ring or whatever the next big FromSoft title will be, these new ideas that they experimented with can be perfected into the new game, making Elden Ring 2 or whatever the next title is even better than it originally would have been without the little titles. Because these small games give them the opportunity to experiment and see if something works or if it doesn't work. I'd also like to say that FromSoft fans have had it good with the amount of games that FromSoft has been pumping out, because we got Elden Ring in 2022, Armored Core 6 in 2023, Elden Ring DLC in 2024, Nightreign in 2025, and the Duskbloods should be out in 2026 on the Switch 2, which means that FromSoft has been releasing something new every year since Elden Ring's release. And if you pay attention to other gaming studios like Bethesda, Rockstar, CD Projekt Red, and BioWare, you will know that you are lucky to get a new game from them once every 5 years, and that is the minimum wait time, because some of these games are taking a decade plus to actually release to us to play. I will end the discussion on the second point by saying that making a game as a cash grab is not necessarily a bad thing. And in this case with Nightreign, I think they absolutely made the right choice releasing the game, because it ended up selling 3.5 million copies. So there's definitely a market out there of people who want to play this sort of side game and see if the experiment that FromSoft has decided to do works or not. I only have issues with cash grabs when they release half-baked, and in my opinion, when it comes to Elden Ring Nightreign, this game is most definitely not half-baked, and they released it in a pretty good state. And that's not to say there weren't bugs and issues, but I've had way less issues with Nightreign than I did with like Halo Infinite, for example. Or even Cyberpunk 2077 when that game was supposedly fixed. My honest opinion of Nightreign is that the game is fun, and I enjoy the new movement mechanics and procedural generation, but I also find the solo experience to feel like an afterthought, and I don't like the way FromSoft set up some of their multiplayer systems, like how Remembrance quests get a separate queue for expeditions, separating people trying to do the quests from people looking for normal expeditions when it feels unnecessary to do so. Thanks for watching the video. Also, make sure to let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And with that said,
I'm sorry, sir. It's time for you to leave.